The billionaire had built his life around his work. Every decision, every move, every meeting had been carefully calculated to expand his empire. He was proud of his achievements and the life he had created, but despite all his success, there was one part of his life that had always been fragile and uncertain: his daughter. She was young, full of curiosity, and had a smile that could light up any room. Yet he often realized that he had been too busy to truly be there for her. He had spent so much time building wealth that he had unknowingly built walls between himself and the most important person in his life. It was on a cold morning in early autumn when everything changed. He had just returned from an overseas business trip, exhausted from hours of negotiations, flights, and meetings. As he entered his mansion, he noticed an unusual quietness. His assistant approached him hesitantly, a folder in hand, her face pale and eyes full of concern. "Sir, we have a problem," she said softly. He took the folder, expecting it to contain some minor business issue. Instead, what he found made his heart stop. His daughter was missing. The document contained statements from the police, reports from neighbors, and a missing persons alert. His mind went blank for a moment. His daughter, his little girl who always ran to hug him when he returned home, was gone. Panic and fear gripped him. He called the police immediately, giving them every detail he could remember: what she had been wearing, her favorite spots, her routines. But even as officers promised to search tirelessly, he felt helpless. He had controlled every part of his business life, every investment, every decision. But here, in the most important matter of all, he was powerless. The media quickly picked up the story. Headlines flashed across news channels and social media platforms. "Billionaire's daughter missing, where is she? City in search for young girl." The attention was overwhelming, and he realized that public scrutiny was something he had never prepared for. People offered support, but their words felt hollow, and their eyes seemed to look at him more as a celebrity than as a father in distress. Night fell, but sleep was impossible. He paced the halls of his mansion, remembering the last time he had seen his daughter. She had been excited about a school project and had begged him to help her after dinner. He remembered telling her he had too many meetings and that she could manage on her own. That simple choice now weighed on him like a stone. Guilt mixed with fear, and he felt an ache he had never experienced before. Days passed, but there were no leads. The police questioned friends, neighbors, and even strangers who might have seen her. Flyers were handed out, images posted online, and yet every effort seemed to lead to nothing. He began visiting the neighborhood himself, walking the streets, speaking with shopkeepers, and searching parks. People were kind but offered only small pieces of information. Someone saw a girl who looked like her walking down a street. Someone heard rumors about a girl staying with a homeless woman. But all of it was vague, leaving him with more questions than answers. As he continued his search, he remembered the times his daughter had shown independence, wandering to nearby stores or parks while he was caught up in work. He realized that she had a resourcefulness he hadn't fully appreciated, and it gave him a small sense of hope. If she was brave enough to explore on her own, maybe she could survive until he found her. During one sleepless night, he began reviewing every detail of her disappearance. He looked at photographs, replayed memories in his mind, and tried to piece together anything that might lead him to her. He recalled a brief conversation she had had about helping someone in need, how she admired kindness, and how she always seemed to notice people others ignored. Could it be that she had been drawn to someone in need? The thought both scared and comforted him. He realized that if she had gone to help someone, she was not in immediate danger, but she could be vulnerable without protection. The search became personal and consuming. He spoke to detectives daily, checking on every lead, no matter how small. He visited hospitals, shelters, and even local stores repeatedly, asking questions, showing pictures, and pleading with people to remember if they had seen her. The city seemed endless, full of faces and places, and yet he searched tirelessly, driven by love and desperation. Meanwhile, the daughter's world was very different. She had been lost, yes, but not completely alone. A homeless woman had found her wandering near a busy street. The woman had a rough exterior with worn clothes and tired eyes, but there was a softness in her heart that she reserved for those in need. She had taken the girl in, offering food, warmth, and safety. To the girl, it was not a luxurious life, but it was kind and caring, a stark contrast to the loneliness and fear she had felt after her disappearance. The daughter quickly realized that this woman, Who others might judge was her protector. She learned to trust her instincts, navigate the city streets safely, and take care of herself with guidance. Even in the face of uncertainty, there was a bond forming. A bond built on survival, empathy, and quiet moments of understanding. Back in the billionaire's mansion, nights stretched long and heavy. He refused to leave the city, convinced that if he kept searching, if he remained vigilant, he would find her. His business operations suffered, but he no longer cared about profits or deals. Everything else faded in importance beside the thought of his daughter, alone and frightened somewhere in the vast city. He began sharing her story publicly, appealing to the community for help. Flyers with her photograph appeared everywhere. Local news channels ran segments about her, and social media campaigns spread her image far and wide. Each tip that came in was checked meticulously, and every false lead felt like a stab to his heart. But he refused to stop. Every day was a battle between hope and despair. One evening, after days of relentless searching, he took a walk through a part of the city he had not visited before. The streets were crowded, full of the sounds of traffic, chatter, and distant music. He moved slowly, scanning every face, every group of people. Then, in a small park, he saw her, or at least someone who resembled her. She was sitting beside a woman who appeared older, with worn clothing and gentle eyes. They were sharing a small meal, talking quietly and laughing softly. His heart leapt. He wanted to run to her, to embrace her, but he hesitated. He needed to be sure. Could this really be his daughter? Could he risk frightening her or disrupting the delicate bond she had formed with this woman, who had been protecting her? He watched quietly, noting her expressions, the way she moved, the way she smiled. There was no mistaking it. Her features, her mannerisms, everything about her was unmistakably familiar. Tears blurred his vision, and he felt an overwhelming mix of relief, joy, and anxiety. Relief that she was safe, joy that he had finally found her, and anxiety about how to reunite with her without causing harm. He realized that the next steps were crucial. How he approached this situation would determine whether she would feel fear, confusion, or comfort. He spent hours observing them from a distance, understanding their routines and learning about the woman who had been caring for his daughter. It became clear that this woman was kind-hearted, resourceful, and protective. She was more than just a guardian. She had been a true savior during the girl's most vulnerable moments. That night, he returned home with a renewed determination. Sleep eluded him, replaced by plans and strategies. He knew he needed to approach the situation carefully, to gain the woman's trust, and most importantly, to ensure his daughter felt safe. His love for her had grown stronger with every passing day, and he vowed to do whatever it took to bring her back home, while honoring the bond she had formed during her time away. The billionaire realized that the coming days would be delicate and emotional. It was not just a search for a missing child anymore. It was a journey of understanding, compassion, and careful reconnection. And though he was exhausted and anxious, he felt hope. Hope that he could restore his family. Hope that he could rebuild the trust he had neglected, and hope that the love between a father and his daughter could overcome even the most challenging obstacles. The next morning, the billionaire woke with a sense of determination, unlike anything he had felt before. He remembered the girl in the park with the homeless woman, and though he had seen her clearly, he knew he had to approach this with care. The last thing he wanted was to frighten his daughter, or make the woman suspicious of his intentions. He decided to spend the day walking the same streets he had observed, blending into the crowds, learning the patterns of the people he had watched from afar. He visited every shop along the street, spoke to vendors, and asked subtle questions about the woman and the girl. Slowly, a picture began to form. The woman had been helping the girl for several weeks, giving her food, clothing when she could, and guiding her through the streets safely. Despite her rough exterior, there was an undeniable kindness in her actions. The billionaire began to realize that the woman had been more than just a caretaker. She had been a protector, someone who risked her own comfort and safety for the girl's well-being. Meanwhile, the daughter began her day beside the woman. They had found a quiet corner of the city where the girl could play safely. The woman shared a simple breakfast, speaking softly and patiently, teaching the girl little lessons about life, about how to stay safe, and how to notice the good in people even in difficult situations. The girl listened intently, absorbing every word. She felt a strange mixture of fear and comfort, having survived alone yet finding solace in someone else's care. The billionaire walked slowly down the same streets, observing the rhythm of their day. He noticed the way the girl smiled when the woman laughed, how she instinctively held her hand when she crossed the street, and how they interacted with small acts of trust and care. It was a bittersweet moment. He felt joy that she was safe, but anguish that he had been absent when she needed him most. By midday, he decided he needed a plan. Approaching them directly in the busy park could alarm them both, especially the girl. Instead, he spoke to a local cafe owner, a woman who had watched the street for years and knew many of its residents. He asked carefully about the woman and the girl, making it clear he was searching for a missing child without revealing his identity fully. The cafe owner shared what she knew. The woman was protective and cautious, but she also had a kind heart, and the girl seemed happy in her presence. This reinforced what he already suspected. This woman was the only person keeping his daughter safe. As the sun moved across the sky, he noticed that the pair had shifted to a small community garden. The girl was picking flowers while the woman tended a small plot of vegetables. The billionaire's heart ached seeing his daughter in this unusual setting. She was surrounded by dirt and plants instead of the comforts of home, but she was laughing and exploring. He realized that despite the hardships, she had adapted, using her intelligence and courage to survive. He decided to approach carefully, starting with small gestures. He bought flowers from a street vendor and placed them near the bench where they were sitting, keeping his distance. The girl noticed and smiled faintly, but returned to the woman who gently scolded her for wandering too close to strangers. The billionaire understood the subtlety of trust. It would take time for both of them to see that he posed no threat. The daughter, meanwhile, was growing more curious about the world around her. She asked the woman questions about the plants, the city, and people passing by. The woman answered patiently, using simple words to teach her about kindness, caution, and observation. These lessons would serve her well, and the billionaire observed how they mirrored his own teachings, though the circumstances were very different. He felt a surge of gratitude for the woman's efforts, knowing that she had protected his daughter when he could not. As the afternoon sun softened, he moved a little closer, observing their interactions. He noticed how the girl mimicked the woman's gestures, how she followed her instructions, and how the woman responded with gentle encouragement. He realized that this bond was strong, forged in shared survival and care. It was a reminder to him that love and protection can come from unexpected places, and that his daughter's resilience was growing because of it. He decided it was time to introduce himself, but he needed the right moment. He couldn't rush it. He found a quiet street corner where he could talk to the woman alone, away from the girl's sight. With careful words, he started a conversation, speaking softly, showing empathy, and expressing concern without imposing authority. He told her that he had noticed her kindness, that he was looking for a missing child, and that he believed she had been protecting someone important. The woman was wary. Years of hardship had taught her to be cautious, to trust very few people. She questioned his intentions, asked why she should believe him, and reminded him that she had been caring for the girl without expecting anything in return. Her eyes were sharp, and the billionaire realized that he needed to show not just words, but sincerity, patience, and respect. He shared small details that only a parent would know about the child: favorite songs, habits, little memories that could not be guessed by anyone. The woman listened closely, skepticism still present but slowly easing. She saw the truth in his voice, the genuine concern and the love that radiated through his words. After careful consideration, she agreed to let him meet the girl, under the condition that he approached gently and allowed her to remain nearby. When he finally approached his daughter, he spoke softly, using her name, and reminded her of things only she and he would know. The girl froze at first, uncertain, torn between the comfort of the woman who had cared for her and the stranger claiming to be her father. Her eyes searched the man's face, trying to reconcile the pieces. Slowly, recognition dawned, and she reached out hesitantly, her small hand touching his. The billionaire's heart swelled. He knelt to her level, holding her hand, speaking gently and allowing her to process the moment. Tears filled his eyes as he promised to never let her go, to always protect her and to make up for the time lost. The girl clung to him for a long time, her small body trembling with relief and confusion, and he whispered words of comfort, letting her feel safe once more. The woman watched quietly, a mixture of relief and sadness in her eyes. She had grown attached to the girl, and letting go was not easy. Yet she understood that this reunion was right, that the love between a parent and child was powerful and necessary. She nodded to the billionaire, silently agreeing to allow them to leave, knowing she had done her part to keep the child safe. As they walked back toward the familiar streets of his home, the billionaire felt a deep sense of gratitude. He looked back at the woman, promising to ensure she was cared for and recognized for her kindness. He knew that her role in this story was invaluable, that without her courage and compassion, his daughter's safety could not have been guaranteed. The daughter looked around, seeing the streets in a new light. She remembered the woman's teachings, the small moments of kindness, and the lessons she had learned. She realized that even in hardship there was goodness, and that she had survived because of trust, intelligence, and courage. And as she held her father's hand, she felt a complex mix of emotions, relief, joy, and curiosity about the world she had just experienced. The billionaire reflected on the journey that had brought them here. He realized that love and responsibility could not be measured in wealth or time alone. They were shown through presence, care, and understanding. He vowed to never again let work overshadow what truly mattered. His daughter's safety, happiness, and growth would be his priority above all else. That evening, as they returned to his home, the city seemed less overwhelming. The streets that had felt endless and daunting now appeared filled with possibilities and hope. He knew that the days ahead would involve healing, rebuilding trust, and learning to be a parent in ways he had neglected. But for the first time in weeks, he felt a sense of peace. His daughter was safe, and together they would face the future, guided by love, resilience, and the unexpected kindness of a stranger who had protected what mattered most. The days that followed the reunion were filled with cautious steps and gentle adjustments. The billionaire understood that reconnecting with his daughter was not about rushing her back into a world she had temporarily survived without, but about building trust, safety, and comfort. Every small action mattered. Every word, every smile, every gentle touch became a bridge connecting the lost time. At first, the daughter was hesitant. She looked at the mansion, the luxurious rooms, and the familiar objects, but everything felt different. The walls were too tall, the floors too polished, and the air too still. In the streets with the woman, she had learned to navigate life, to be aware, to feel safe despite the chaos around her. Now in the mansion, she had to relearn what it meant to be cared for in abundance without fear or uncertainty. The billionaire spent hours talking to her, listening more than speaking. He shared stories of his childhood, of lessons learned and mistakes made, and explained the reasons he had been busy without making excuses. He wanted her to understand, not to justify his absence. Slowly, she began to open up, sharing her experiences with the woman who had taken care of her. Her stories were vivid, filled with moments of fear, hope, and quiet triumphs. The billionaire listened, horrified by some moments, amazed by her resilience in others. The woman who had protected her came to visit occasionally, at the daughter's request. Their bond had been formed under extraordinary circumstances, and she remained a figure of comfort and stability. The billionaire welcomed her warmly, acknowledging her role in his daughter's survival. He ensured that she had support, knowing that her kindness had been priceless and that gratitude alone could not repay the sacrifices she had made. Together, they walked through the city, revisiting some of the streets where the girl had learned to be brave. She showed her father how she had navigated small dangers, how she had found food and shelter, and how she had communicated with strangers cautiously, but politely. The billionaire marveled at her ingenuity and courage. He realized that his daughter had grown wiser in these weeks than many children did in years. He also understood that these lessons, though learned in hardship, would shape her character forever. One afternoon, as they sat in a quiet cafe, the billionaire observed his daughter drawing in a notebook. She sketched scenes of the city streets, the park, and the woman who had cared for her. Each drawing was filled with emotion, capturing not just events but feelings. He realized that art had become a way for her to process what she had experienced. He encouraged her to continue, showing interest and admiration, helping her see that her feelings and experiences mattered and could be shared safely. He began arranging small experiences for her in the mansion, gradually introducing routines that combined comfort with exploration. They baked together, planted flowers in a small garden, and walked along quiet paths, talking about the world around them. He was patient, understanding that she needed time to feel secure. There were moments of laughter, but also moments of tears and frustration as she wrestled with memories of fear and uncertainty. He never rushed her, allowing her to lead the pace of reconnection. The billionaire also sought guidance from child psychologists, educators, and counselors, realizing that professional help could aid in healing. They met with therapists who specialized in trauma, allowing the daughter to express her fears and thoughts in a safe environment. Through these sessions, she began to articulate emotions that had been confusing, to name fears that had haunted her, and to recognize her own strength and resilience. The billionaire participated as well, learning how to communicate effectively and supportively, rebuilding the trust that absence had weakened. As weeks turned into months, the bond between father and daughter grew stronger. He realized that love was not only in grand gestures or material comfort, but in consistent presence, in listening, and in understanding. He made a conscious effort to be part of her daily life, attending school events, playing games, and engaging in conversations that mattered to her. Slowly, the walls of the mansion no longer felt cold or intimidating. They became spaces of warmth, laughter, and shared experiences. Despite the progress, there were moments of tension. Memories of the streets, the cold nights, and the struggles with the woman's guidance surfaced unexpectedly. The daughter sometimes expressed anger or frustration, asking why he had not been there, questioning decisions and seeking explanations. The billionaire listened, never dismissing her feelings, validating her experiences, and offering honest, heartfelt responses. Through these moments, both learned to navigate complex emotions, to accept imperfections, and to embrace the process of healing. One evening, as they watched the sunset from the mansion's balcony, the daughter spoke softly. She described the moments with the woman, the lessons learned, and the feelings of safety she had experienced despite the challenges. The billionaire listened, tears in his eyes, realizing that her gratitude extended to both him and the woman. He understood that her world was now richer, layered with experiences that would shape her empathy, resilience, and understanding of humanity. The woman continued to visit, becoming a mentor and a cherished friend rather than a mysterious guardian. She shared stories of her own struggles, her hopes, and the lessons she had learned while helping the daughter. Their interactions were filled with mutual respect and admiration. The daughter learned that kindness often came from unexpected sources, and that people could offer help without seeking reward or recognition. The billionaire ensured that the woman was supported, providing opportunities and resources to improve her life, acknowledging her invaluable role in his daughter's survival. As the city moved forward, the billionaire also faced challenges in his professional life. Business obligations called for attention, but he now balanced them with family time, understanding that wealth and power were meaningless without connection and love. He involved his daughter in age-appropriate aspects of his work, teaching her about responsibility, ethics, and decision-making in a safe and supportive way. She learned to see the world beyond her immediate surroundings, understanding both privilege and responsibility, and how compassion could coexist with ambition. Friendships and community connections began to play a role as well. The billionaire reached out to neighbors, teachers, and friends, integrating his daughter into a network of support and care. She slowly regained confidence, forming friendships with children her age, participating in school activities, and exploring her interests with encouragement. The lessons learned during her time away, the need for vigilance, self-reliance, and observation, blended with her new experiences, creating a strong foundation for growth. Every evening, as they sat together reading or discussing the day, the billionaire reflected on the journey that had brought them here. He realized that the challenges they faced had reshaped them both, fostering patience, understanding, and appreciation. He acknowledged his own mistakes, the moments he had failed to prioritize family, and committed to a new approach, one guided by love, empathy, and presence. The daughter, too, reflected on her experiences. She understood that her journey had been difficult but transformative. She learned to value the kindness of strangers, the protection of friends, and the unwavering love of family. Her resilience had grown, and with the support of her father and the woman who had cared for her, she began to see a future filled with hope, security, and opportunity. As part of her healing, the billionaire encouraged her to share her story, to help others understand courage, empathy, and the importance of looking out for those in need. Together, they planned small projects in the community, visits to shelters, and charitable work that honored the woman's role in her life. These actions reinforced the lessons learned on the streets, connecting past experiences with present choices and future possibilities. The bond between father and daughter continued to strengthen, marked by laughter, shared experiences, and quiet moments of understanding. The daughter's journey had been extraordinary, but it had also revealed the depth of human kindness, the power of resilience, and the enduring strength of love. The billionaire, once consumed by business and ambition, now found fulfillment not in wealth or influence, but in the shared moments, care, and presence that defined his relationship with his daughter. Through patience, empathy, and understanding, they navigated the complexities of reintegration, building a life that honored past experiences while embracing new opportunities. They celebrated small victories, learned from setbacks, and cultivated an environment of trust, love, and growth. And as the city moved forward around them, they discovered that even in the darkest times, hope, courage, and human connection could guide the way to a brighter, more compassionate future. The father knew that healing was a slow and delicate process. By now his daughter had started to trust him more, but there were still moments when the memories of her time on the streets and with the woman who cared for her would surface, bringing hesitation or fear. He understood that these feelings were normal, and he refused to push her too quickly. He wanted her to feel secure, not just physically but emotionally, and he worked every day to create a world where she could truly belong. Each morning began with small rituals that both comforted and reassured her. They would walk through quiet parts of the city, observing people, nature, and the little details that made life alive. He encouraged her to ask questions, share her thoughts, and express her feelings. He listened carefully, never interrupting or correcting her unless she asked for guidance. Through these conversations, he learned more about her inner world, about how she had coped with fear, and how she had grown stronger despite her challenges. The daughter also began exploring new interests. She had developed a curiosity about people, noticing their kindness or hesitation, their small gestures of generosity. She enjoyed reading books about faraway places and stories of courage, often comparing them to her own experiences. The father joined her in these activities, reading alongside her, discussing the characters' choices, and teaching her to think critically and empathetically about the world around her. These moments strengthened their bond and helped her feel understood and valued. Despite the progress, there were setbacks. Sometimes she would remember frightening moments. Nightmares would return, or anger would flare when she thought about being alone or abandoned. The father never reacted with frustration or impatience. Instead, he held her, spoke gently, and validated her emotions. He reminded her that feeling scared, sad, or angry was normal, and that she could share those feelings without judgment. Gradually, these episodes became less frequent, replaced by growing confidence and emotional stability. The woman who had cared for her remained an important figure in their lives. The father recognized that her guidance had been crucial to his daughter's survival and emotional development. They invited her to the mansion often, making sure she felt respected and appreciated rather than an outsider. She shared stories, gave advice, and sometimes joined in their daily activities. The daughter was overjoyed to have both her protector and her father present, and it gave her a sense of continuity and safety that made her healing more complete. The father also sought to help the woman improve her life. He arranged for her to receive better housing, education, and employment opportunities. She was grateful, but she insisted that her primary reward had been the girl's safety and happiness. The father respected her humility and tried to honor it by supporting her quietly, ensuring that she had choices and dignity rather than simply giving her a handout. This approach showed his daughter the value of kindness, respect, and fairness, reinforcing lessons learned from the streets. As the daughter grew more comfortable, they started to integrate her into normal daily routines, school, friendships, and family activities. Each step was taken carefully, with the father observing her reactions and making adjustments to ensure she felt safe. He encouraged her to express herself, to build relationships, and to explore her talents. Slowly, she developed a balanced life where curiosity, learning, and play coexisted with the lessons she had learned in hardship. They also began small community projects, inspired by the daughter's experiences and the woman's guidance. They visited shelters, helped distribute food, and organized small events for children in need. The daughter was proud to contribute, feeling that she could give back in the way the woman had given to her. These actions strengthened her sense of purpose and empathy, allowing her to process her experiences positively while making a meaningful impact on others. The father learned alongside his daughter. He discovered that being present, patient, and emotionally open was more valuable than wealth or influence. He shared stories from his past, lessons from his failures, and reflections on love and responsibility. These conversations helped his daughter understand him better and helped him see the importance of balance in life. They laughed together, cried together, and slowly built a foundation of trust that could withstand the challenges of the past. As time passed, the daughter became more confident in navigating the world. She had learned resilience, observation, and empathy from the woman, and now she was combining those lessons with the security and opportunities provided by her father. She was no longer just surviving. She was thriving. She explored new hobbies, engaged with peers, and began envisioning her future with hope and courage. The father was proud, but he also remained humble. He understood that his daughter's growth was not solely his achievement. It was the result of love, care, guidance, and the unexpected kindness of a woman who had protected her when he could not. He emphasized gratitude and respect in their daily life, teaching his daughter to honor the contributions of others while forging her own path. During quiet evenings at home, they would sit together and discuss their day, the lessons learned, and the challenges faced. These moments became treasured rituals, where the daughter felt safe to express herself fully, and the father could guide, comfort, and celebrate her growth. They reflected on experiences from the streets, the park, and the city, finding ways to turn them into learning moments, reminders of courage, and examples of empathy. The bond between father and daughter became a source of strength for both. He found joy in her laughter, pride in her achievements, and comfort in her trust. She found reassurance in his presence, guidance in his words, and a sense of belonging she had never known before. Together they navigated life with renewed purpose, understanding that love, patience, and understanding could heal wounds that once seemed insurmountable. The woman's influence remained a guiding light. Her lessons about survival, kindness, and vigilance were integrated into the daughter's new life, giving her a unique perspective and depth of character. The father ensured that she maintained this connection, understanding that the woman's presence reinforced values of empathy, courage, and care for others. Months later, the daughter's transformation was evident. She approached challenges with confidence, engaged with the world thoughtfully, and nurtured relationships with care and attention. The father, too, had transformed. He had learned to prioritize what truly mattered, to be emotionally present, and to balance ambition with love and care. Together, they created a life filled with hope, stability, and meaningful connections. The city, once a place of fear and uncertainty, now felt full of possibilities. Streets that had been harsh and overwhelming now represented growth, exploration, and community. The daughter walked with confidence, aware of her own strength, the kindness of others, and the importance of empathy. Her experiences had shaped her character, giving her resilience, compassion, and a sense of purpose. The father looked on with pride, realizing that wealth could never replace presence, and that love and understanding were the most valuable gifts he could offer. He had found his daughter, yes, but he had also found a new way to live, one grounded in care, respect, and connection. Together, they faced the future with courage, hope, and an unbreakable bond that no challenge could diminish. The woman continued to visit and support them, her role evolving into one of mentorship and guidance. She had become a part of their extended family, and her presence reinforced lessons of gratitude, kindness, and the power of helping others. The daughter cherished this connection, knowing that trust and care could come from many directions, and that love was not limited to a single form. Even in moments of reflection, they all understood that life was unpredictable. Challenges could arise, fears could return, and setbacks might occur, but they had learned to face difficulties with resilience, empathy, and understanding. They had experienced fear and uncertainty, but they had also witnessed courage, kindness, and the enduring power of love. These experiences became the foundation of a life rich in meaning, connection, and purpose. As the sun set over the city, casting golden light across streets and buildings, the father and daughter walked hand in hand. They reflected on their journey, acknowledging the struggles, celebrating the growth, and cherishing the bonds that had been formed. Life had tested them, But it had also revealed the depth of human kindness and the strength that could arise from love and trust. Together they faced the horizon with hope, knowing that the challenges of the past had prepared them for a future filled with connection, compassion, and the enduring power of family.